What if the food in your kitchen looked plentiful, but most of it let you down when you needed it most? Many people believe they're prepared because the fridge is full, the pantry has plenty of options, and dinner seems covered for the week. But during a real disruption, fresh food spoils quickly. Frozen food depends on electricity, and many everyday items expire long before they're ever used. In this video, you'll discover 12 foods that can last for decades, and in some cases, far longer than a lifetime. But their real value isn't just how long they last. It's whether you can still get them when everyone else suddenly realizes how important they are. During uncertain times, these ordinary foods can disappear quickly because demand spikes all at once. And item number 7 is especially risky because many people have it in their homes but store it the wrong way without even realizing it. 12. Honey. In an ancient Egyptian tomb opened after thousands of years, archaeologists discovered jars of honey that had survived almost unchanged. No mold, no spoilage, no strange odor. And the most surprising part was that it was still edible. Thousands of years had passed, yet this simple golden food had barely lost its value. Some foods outlast a season, some outlast a pantry. Honey can outlast generations. Honey doesn't expire the way most people think it does. When stored properly, it can remain usable almost indefinitely because of its natural makeup. Very little moisture, strong acidity, and powerful antibacterial properties. Bacteria need water to grow, and honey gives them almost none. That's why honey is more than just a sweetener. It's a quick source of energy, a preservation aid, a soothing remedy for sore throats, and one of the rare foods that can sit quietly on a shelf for years and still be useful when life becomes challenging. But many people damage their honey without realizing it. They put it in the refrigerator. It sounds like a safe choice, but it isn't necessary. Cold temperatures cause honey to crystallize more quickly, making it thick, grainy, and harder to pour. In Canada, especially in colder regions or during the winter months, even a kitchen cupboard can become cool enough to speed up crystallization. That doesn't mean the honey has gone bad. It simply means the natural sugars have changed form. Warm the jar gently, and it can return to a smoother consistency. And the best storage method is simple. Keep honey tightly sealed at room temperature, away from direct sunlight, moisture, and heat from the stove. When shopping, choose raw or unfiltered honey whenever possible. Real honey isn't always perfectly clear, and crystallization can actually be a sign of quality rather than a problem. For many Canadian households, where honey is used in tea, on toast, in baking, and in traditional home remedies, it's far more than just another pantry staple. It's one of the few foods that can provide quick energy when you're tired and still retain its value for years. The mistake isn't buying honey. The mistake is treating it like ordinary food forever.
11. Dry pasta. You may think pasta is just a cheap, simple food, but in a Canadian kitchen, it is closer to a time capsule than an ordinary meal. A pack of dry pasta sitting in a pantry in Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver, Halifax, or a small town outside Saskatoon can remain useful long after many other foods have gone bad. Dry pasta can last 10 to 20 years, sometimes longer, if it is protected properly. The reason is simple. It contains very little moisture.
Without water, bacteria and mold have almost no environment to grow, which is why pasta has always been one of the strongest foods for long-term storage. Nutritionally, pasta gives the body carbohydrates. And in a difficult situation, carbohydrates are not a luxury. They are fuel that helps you keep moving, stay warm in winter, manage stress, and avoid exhaustion when meals become smaller. The real strength of pasta is not that it feels special. It is that it works. With water, heat, salt, a little canola oil or olive oil, canned tomatoes, tuna, beans, or vegetables, it can become a real meal even when the rest of the kitchen feels limited. In Canada, where pasta is easy to find at Walmart, Costco, No Frills, Real Canadian Superstore, Sobeys, and local supermarkets, Many people assume it will always be there. But cheap staples disappear quickly when families start buying extra at the same time. Because it is affordable, light, filling, and familiar, demand can rise fast during uncertainty. To store pasta properly, keep it in an airtight container away from humidity, sunlight, and high heat. Coastal homes, basement pantries, and warm apartments can expose food to more moisture than people realize. A traditional trick is adding bay leaves or dried chili peppers to help discourage insects. Choose pasta made from durum wheat semolina, with a light yellow color and firm texture. Avoid leaving it in paper bags or thin plastic, because one small moisture problem can damage the whole supply. Pasta does not ask for attention every day, but when you need it, it is still there. How many foods in your kitchen can honestly do that for years? 10. Cornstarch. One tiny drop of water can ruin a supply of cornstarch you thought would last for years. That sounds dramatic, but anyone who has opened a box in a humid Canadian kitchen knows how quickly a dry ingredient can turn into a hard lump. Cornstarch can last for decades when it stays dry. The reason is simple. It contains almost no fat, little moisture, and almost nothing that bacteria or mold can use. Keep water away, and it remains stable. Let moisture in, and the whole story changes. Its nutritional value is simple. Cornstarch is mostly pure carbohydrate, so it can give quick energy when food is limited or the body feels drained. But the real reason it deserves a place in a Canadian pantry is its usefulness. It thickens soups, stews, sauces, gravies, custards, creams, and simple homemade meals when fresh ingredients are limited. In many homes, it can stretch a thin broth, improve texture, or turn leftovers into something that feels more complete. During unstable periods, basic ingredients like cornstarch often disappear faster than people expect. Not because they are rare, but because they solve many small problems at once. In Canada, where winter storms, damp basements, coastal humidity, and rising grocery costs can put pressure on kitchens, a cheap box of cornstarch can become far more valuable than it looks. Storage is the part most people underestimate. After opening it, move the cornstarch into an airtight container immediately. Keep it away from steam, sinks, windows, dishwashers, and the stove. A small desiccant packet can help keep the container dry. Store it in a cool, dark cupboard, not in a warm corner where heat and moisture collect. When buying, choose pure cornstarch with no added flavors or unnecessary ingredients. The simpler it is, the longer it stays reliable. The biggest mistake is thinking that because cornstarch lasts a long time, it can be stored anywhere. It cannot. Cornstarch does not need special treatment, but it does demand one thing: dryness. If you ever need it, the question will not be whether you bought it, but whether you protected it. 9. Instant coffee. Many years ago, in an old military storage facility, containers of instant coffee were found after being forgotten for 3 decades. When opened, the smell was still there. When brewed, the coffee was still drinkable. It was not as fresh as a cup from a Canadian cafe, but it still did one thing that mattered: helped people stay awake when they needed a clear head. Instant coffee is not the first food people think about for long-term preparation. In Canada, many people think of canola oil, rice, pasta, canned fish, or bottled water first. But instant coffee deserves attention because it can last 20 to 30 years if it stays sealed and dry. Freeze drying removes almost all moisture, and without moisture, bacteria and mold have nothing to use. The coffee is not immortal, but it is stable. Its real value is not nutrition. Its value is alertness. Caffeine helps the brain fight fatigue, stay focused, and react faster when stress is high. During a power outage, a wildfire evacuation, a long highway closure, or a heat wave that ruins sleep, staying mentally sharp can matter as much as having food. You can miss a meal and still function. But if exhaustion makes you careless, the cost can come quickly. That is why instant coffee often disappears faster than expected during uncertain moments. It is cheap, small, familiar, and easy to store. When many households realize they may need comfort and focus at the same time, shelves can empty quickly at Walmart, Costco, No Frills, Real Canadian Superstore, Sobeys, or local grocery stores. Storage is simple but unforgiving. After opening, transfer instant coffee into an airtight glass jar if possible. Keep it away from steam, sunlight, heat, and coastal humidity. A small, desiccant packet can help protect the aroma. Choose freeze-dried coffee when possible, because it keeps flavor and structure better. The mistake is opening it again and again, then leaving it poorly sealed. Instant coffee may not spoil quickly, but it can lose its smell, strength, and usefulness before you notice. If tomorrow demanded a long, stressful night, would your pantry help you stay awake? 8. Oats. Most people do not run out of food because they bought nothing. They lose food because they stored it badly before they ever needed it. Oats are a perfect example. In many Canadian homes, a bag of oats sits in the cupboard beside pasta, rice, flour, and breakfast crackers. And everyone assumes it is safe because it looks dry and simple. But oats can last 20 to 30 years, only when they are protected properly. Very few households reach that kind of shelf life, not because oats are weak, but because heat, air, and humidity slowly destroy them. Oats contain natural oils, and those oils can turn rancid when exposed to warm temperatures, oxygen, and moisture. That matters in Canada, especially in hot apartments, coastal kitchens, basement pantries, or cupboards near the stove. Oats are durable, but they are not impossible to ruin. Nutritionally, oats provide slow-burning carbohydrates that release energy steadily, instead of giving the quick spike and crash you get from sugar. They also contain soluble fiber, including beta-glucan, which supports digestion, blood sugar control, and heart health. For older adults, oats are not just filling. They are gentle, familiar, and useful when meals need to be simple. In normal life, oats are breakfast. During a disruption, they become a reliable energy base, with hot water, powdered milk, honey, sugar, or even just water. They can keep you going when cooking options are limited. That is why practical staples like oats can disappear quietly from Walmart, Costco, No Frills, Real Canadian Superstore, Sobeys, and local shops when people start thinking seriously about food security. Storage is where most people fail. Move oats into airtight containers after opening. Keep them away from sunlight, steam, and high heat. If possible, freeze them for a few days before long-term storage to kill insects, then place them in a dry cupboard. Choose rolled oats or steel-cut oats over heavily flavored instant packets, because simpler products usually store better. The mistake is leaving oats in thin packaging and forgetting them in a warm cupboard. Are you storing energy or slowly letting it spoil before you truly need it most? 7. Powdered milk. When fresh food becomes unreliable, powdered milk is often one of the first nutritional backups people begin to understand. In Canada, many households are used to fresh milk, shelf-stable cartons, and small weekly shopping trips to Walmart, Costco, No Frills, Real Canadian Superstore, Sobeys, or the local grocery store. But when supply becomes irregular, prices rise, or a summer heat wave makes refrigeration feel less dependable, powdered milk suddenly stops looking old-fashioned and starts looking practical. Many people assume milk is something that must be used quickly, but powdered milk is different. When it is processed properly and kept sealed, it can last 20 to 25 years while keeping much of its nutritional value. The reason is simple. Most of the water has been removed. Without moisture, bacteria have almost no environment to grow, and the product becomes far more stable than fresh milk. What matters is not just the number of years. It is what powdered milk still provides when your diet becomes smaller. It gives protein, calcium, and vitamin D, nutrients that are especially important for older adults who need to protect muscle strength, bone health, and daily energy. When meals become repetitive, a glass of reconstituted milk can make a real difference. It can also be added to oats, coffee, soups, sauces, mashed potatoes, rice pudding, or simple desserts to make basic food more nourishing. Storage is where many people make the mistake. Powdered milk must stay sealed, dry, cool, and away from sunlight. After opening, divide it into smaller airtight portions and limit exposure to air. Always use a dry spoon, because even a small amount of moisture can cause clumping and reduce quality. For long-term storage, non-fat powdered milk is often better because fat can oxidize over time. In humid coastal areas, that detail matters more, because a pantry can feel dry while the powder is absorbing moisture every day. The mistake is not choosing powdered milk. The mistake is treating it casually after opening it. If you had to rely on stored food for many days, would your pantry still give your body the nutrition it needs? 6. Canned meat and canned fish. If the power went out tomorrow, what would you actually eat once the food in your refrigerator started spoiling? In many Canadian homes, the fridge looks full. Fresh meat, fish, yogurt, vegetables, leftovers, and milk. But during a long power outage, a heat wave, a storm, or a supply disruption, much of that food can become unsafe before you can use it. That is when canned meat and canned fish stop looking ordinary and start becoming real food security. Canned meat and canned fish can last 5 to 10 years, sometimes longer, if the cans remain intact. This works because the food is sealed, sterilized with high heat, and protected from oxygen. Once bacteria are destroyed and air is removed, the food inside can stay stable for years. Their greatest strength is convenience. No cooking, no electricity, no refrigeration, and no extra water. Just open the can, and you have ready-to-eat protein. In Canada, canned tuna, sardines, mackerel, mussels, chicken, and other canned meats are already familiar in many kitchens, which makes them easier to rotate before they expire. Nutritionally, they provide complete protein that helps maintain muscle, support recovery, and prevent weakness. A small can of fish can provide enough protein to turn bread, rice, pasta, potatoes, or beans into a real meal. Canned fish also offers omega-3 fats and minerals that matter especially for older adults. Store cans in a cool, dry place, away from heat and humidity. Never use cans that are swollen, leaking, heavily rusted, or deeply dented. The danger is not just age, but damage to the seal. Choose simple ingredients, lower sodium when possible, and sturdy packaging. If the power failed for 3 days, would you have real food ready, or only fresh food disappearing fast when stores are crowded and choices shrink quickly too? 5. Dried beans. 1 cup of dried beans can provide serious protein for far less money than meat, eggs, or many packaged foods. In Canada, where lentils, chickpeas, white beans, kidney beans, and other legumes already belong in everyday cooking, this is not strange food. It is familiar food with long-term value. When stored properly, dried beans can last up to 30 years, making them one of the strongest plant-based protein sources in any pantry. Their durability comes from low moisture and very little fat. Without much water or oil, bacteria and mold have far fewer chances to grow. That is why beans can sit quietly for years and still become a real meal when fresh food is limited. Nutritionally, they provide protein, fiber, and minerals. When paired with rice, they create a more complete food combination that can help the body stay full, steady, and stronger during difficult days. When meat becomes expensive, harder to find, or less practical to store, dried beans become more important. They are not as quick as canned food, but they are flexible. You can cook them into stews, soups, rice dishes, salads, or simple family meals that stretch other ingredients further. Storage is the key. Keep them in airtight containers, away from heat, humidity, and direct light. In warm Canadian apartments, basement pantries, or coastal areas, moisture can slowly damage beans without obvious warning. Choose beans that are dry, uniform, not cracked, and free from mold or strange smells. Fresher beans usually cook faster and taste better. The common mistake is leaving them in thin plastic or paper bags for months. then wondering why they become hard, stale, or full of insects.
Beans are not convenient, in the same way as ready-to-eat food, but their strength is different. They replace protein when other options disappear. If meat became scarce for several days, would your pantry still have enough strength to carry your body?
4. Whole wheat flour. In the past, families did not depend only on flour. They stored grain because grain could survive longer and give them control over food when shops, mills, or supply routes became uncertain. That lesson still matters in Canada today. Flour is useful, but whole grain is stronger for long-term storage. Whole wheat flour can last for a while, but it is not as stable as whole wheat kernels.
Once wheat is ground, the natural oils in the bran are exposed to air and oxidation begins. Over time, that can make the flour lose quality, develop an unpleasant smell, or go rancid. Whole grains, when kept dry and sealed, can last for decades because their protective structure remains intact. The value of flour is not just that you can eat it, its value is that it allows you to create food.
With flour, water, salt, yeast, or oil, you can make bread, bannock, flatbread, noodles, thick soups, simple doughs, and many basic meals. In a Canadian home, where bread is part of daily life, flour is not just another ingredient. It is a way to keep making meals when packaged foods become less available. Nutritionally, whole wheat flour provides carbohydrates, some protein, and fiber. It is not perfect nutrition by itself, but it gives structure and energy when choices are limited. Store it in an airtight container, away from light, heat, and moisture. For longer storage, whole wheat kernels are better, because you can grind them only when needed. The common mistake is thinking flour lasts like rice. It does not. Warm kitchens, damp basements, coastal humidity, and poor packaging can shorten its life quickly. Flour helps you eat today, but grain helps you prepare for tomorrow. Are you storing convenience or the ability to create food when options shrink? 3. White rice. If systems stopped working for several days, most food in your kitchen would begin to fail quickly. Fresh meat, fish, milk, leftovers, and vegetables all depend on refrigeration, shopping routines, and electricity. But white rice is different. It hardly changes, and it can carry a household through difficult days when other foods disappear. In Canada, rice is already familiar. From simple home meals to soups, stir-fries, and rice with beans, tuna, vegetables, or eggs. A 20-kilogram bag of white rice can provide hundreds of servings if used carefully, which makes it one of the strongest foundations in a storage pantry. White rice can last 25 to 30 years when it is sealed, dry, and protected from oxygen. The reason is the milling process. The oily outer layer is removed, so white rice is far less likely to turn rancid than brown rice or whole grains. Nutritionally, it provides carbohydrates, the basic energy your body needs to keep moving. It is not the richest food, but it is dependable. Combined with beans, it becomes much stronger. Storage matters. Keep rice in airtight containers or vacuum-sealed bags, ideally with oxygen absorbers. Store it away from heat, humidity, and insects. In warm Canadian apartments, damp basements, or coastal areas, leaving rice in its original bag can invite moisture, mold, and pests. Choose dry, clean grains with no strange smell. White rice is not exciting, but when choices shrink, it is the quiet food that still works for many families when nothing else does. 2. White sugar. Many people think sugar is something to reduce, avoid, or remove from the diet completely. And for daily health, that caution makes sense. But from a storage perspective, white sugar is one of the most stable foods you can keep in a pantry. In Canada, where sugar is used in coffee, desserts, jams, preserves, and simple home baking, it is not just sweetness. It is stored energy. White sugar has almost no true expiry date if it stays dry. It does not spoil like meat, milk, flour, or oils. When moisture reaches it, sugar may clump or harden, but the food itself has not gone bad. Its structure absorbs moisture and creates an environment where bacteria struggle to grow, which is why sugar has been used for generations to preserve fruit, make jam, and extend the life of other foods. Its role is simple: quick energy. When the body is tired, stressed, or short on calories, sugar can be absorbed fast. It is not something you need in large amounts every day, but during scarcity, it can help turn basic foods into something more useful and easier to eat. Store it in airtight containers, away from humidity, sunlight, and heat. In coastal Canadian homes or damp basement pantries, moisture can harden sugar faster than people expect. Choose granulated white sugar for long-term storage, not brown sugar, because brown sugar contains more moisture. The mistake is throwing hardened sugar away. Break it apart, and it can still work. Sugar does not disappear. It only changes shape. 1. White vinegar. White vinegar may look like a simple kitchen ingredient, but in a Canadian pantry, it can support an entire food system. A typical white vinegar solution has about 5% acidity, strong enough to slow or inhibit harmful bacteria in food environments. That means you are not only holding something for salads or marinades, you are holding a tool that helps food last longer. White vinegar has almost no expiry date when it stays sealed. It contains no fat, has high acidity, and gives bacteria very little chance to grow. Long before modern refrigeration, vinegar was used to preserve vegetables, extend food life, and make pickled foods safer to store. Its value is not nutrition. Its value is protection. In Canada, where summer heat, coastal humidity, damp basements, and rising grocery costs can make food waste painful, vinegar can help clean vegetables, reduce odors, create simple cleaning solutions, and preserve food through pickling. When households become concerned about keeping food usable, basic items like vinegar can disappear quickly from Walmart, Costco, No Frills, Real Canadian Superstore, Sobeys, and local grocery stores. Storage is simple. Keep it sealed, away from direct sunlight and high heat. It does not need refrigeration. Choose white vinegar with standard acidity and no added flavors if your goal is long-term usefulness. The simpler it is, the more reliable it remains. The mistake is treating vinegar like a minor ingredient. You may not eat it to survive, but it helps what you have last longer. If food spoils too quickly, how much food do you really have? These items are not rare, expensive, or difficult to find.
Many may already be sitting in your Canadian kitchen right now. But the real question is not how much food you own. It is whether that food will still work when you need it most. You may not be lacking food. You may be lacking the foods that do not disappear with time, heat, moisture, or power outages. When life is normal, everything feels secure. But when systems slow down, stores become crowded, or choices begin to shrink, small pantry decisions suddenly matter.
Preparation is not about filling every shelf. It is about choosing better. Sometimes, the difference between calm and panic comes down to ordinary items you ignored for years. In the next video, we will look at 12 canned foods that can be eaten immediately, require no cooking, and may become important when options start to disappear.